Hey guys, Captain Mike from Whiskey and Literature coming at you today with the whiskey. I know here at the channel we think of ourselves as a book forward channel. There's stories, but occasionally we bring the whiskey. It is called Whiskey and Literature. This is an exciting video for me. Videos ago I got to my 99th bottle of whiskey and I've been kind of on a hunt trying to find that 100th bottle of whiskey. My sight's set on either a Jack Daniel's Frank Sinatra, which I've not been able to find anywhere. Smoke Wagon, I haven't been able to find in the Tampa Bay at all. And the Architect. Also, I feel like I've seen the Penelope Architect around, and lately as I've been looking, couldn't find it anywhere. Mrs. Captain and I, we drained a bottle of the High West Double Rye. So that took me down to 98 bottles of whiskey. So now I'm hunting for 2 new bottles. Yesterday I was in Arizona visiting the Little Captains. While I was there, I thought, hey, I wonder if the Total Wine & More Santan has any Smoke Wagon available. And lo and behold, they had 6 different bottles. They had the Holiday Bourbon, Straight Bourbon, Small Batch Straight Bourbon, Uncut Unfiltered, Uncut the Younger, and the Rye, the Bottled in Bond Rye. So I was pretty excited and I said, hey, let's go to Total Wine & More, and I picked up my 99th and 100th bottles of whiskey. So here's the reveal. Didn't separate them nicely, but a couple Smoke Wagons here. We've got the Uncut Unfiltered, and we have the Smoke Wagon Bottled in Bond, the Rye. So now I have 100 bottles of whiskey at my house, which Mrs. Captain said I could have. And now as we drain the bottle, we're just gonna replace them on a 1-for-1 basis for a little while. We don't really have space at the house for more than 100 bottles. I think we have a pretty nice selection right now. Scotches, Irish whiskey, we have bourbons, we have ryes, we have cask strength, we have bottles in bond. And so I'm pretty excited. And one of my goals for this year is to drink more whiskey. And when I say that, drink more broadly. Instead of taking one bottle, draining it, open another bottle, have more and more bottles open and try different whiskeys. I picked up the Uncut Unfiltered Bourbon, straight whiskey. Mine is batch 159F. It was bottled September 17th last year, 2022. Mine is 113.36 proof. I think it's a great looking bottle. This is the Bottled in Bond, of course, 100 proof rye. We've been really digging the ryes lately, so there were some other bourbons there, and I went ahead and went with the rye to contrast the two. Now, Smoke Wagon is a part of H&C Distillery, or Distilling, which is a Las Vegas distillery, but it's actually a non-producer distillery. They source all their whiskey from MGP, which no problem with that, of course. I'm a big fan of High West, and they have for years and years, and still to this day, they blend all their whiskeys with MGP. And H&C Distilling was founded in 2012, and they released their first batch of small batch bourbon in 2016. And just for reference, to get to know who I am, that was 3 years prior to me ever having tasted any whiskey for the first time. That's how new of a drinker that I am. So like I said, I think these are great looking bottles. They actually kind of remind me of the High West bottles. The mold is a little different than the High West, but they're all nice, beautiful bottles. They all have this Bibimus Moriandum Est, according to their website, drink for tomorrow we die, which also they say on their website. Instead, that means drink and enjoy today because we won't be around forever. Not all of the bottles have this here, and I understand that it's fairly expensive to have a mold for different bottles. Some of the bottles just are plain on the front without that. The bourbon, it's non-age stated, and it's reported to be 60% corn, 36% rye, and 4% malted barley. So definitely a high rye bourbon. Again, we've been drinking quite a bit of rye here at the house, so I'm excited for that. Go ahead and pop this open. That sounded pretty nice, didn't it? So, Uncut Unfiltered. I'm gonna put it on the left side here. The rye is barely a legal rye, 51% rye, and 49% corn. So I think you call that a Bourbon Rye. I know High West, they have an actual Bourbon Rye that they sell. Didn't really get a pop out of that one. I've had a couple bottles of the Bourbon Rye. I've been trying to find one recently for a High West video that I want to do, but I have not been able to find Bourbon Rye. Also, Redwood Empire, they sell a high rye bourbon or a high corn rye. I'm not really sure if it's 51% rye or 51% corn, but very similar. Okay guys, I paid $78.99 for the Uncut Unfiltered and $66.99 for the straight rye. So I've had these open now. They've been sitting out for a few minutes. I always forget to sit here and swirl while I'm talking. I've been drinking only for a few years. I had my first taste of whiskey, let's call it in 2019. And that first year and a half, I did not drink a whole lot, and mostly cocktails on cruises and stuff like that. I think my first bottle that I bought of whiskey was the Frank Sinatra from Jack Daniels. And this is the first smoke wagon that I've ever tasted. I even lived in Las Vegas for 5 years, but when I was there, I was not drinking or drinking a very little, so I wasn't exposed to it. I've seen it on some reviews lately on YouTube, and so that's why it's in the house right now. I'm not a great picker-outer of the different nose and tasting notes as I smell and taste the whiskeys. I just know if I like it or if I don't like it. Oftentimes I don't even pick out a whole lot of anything other than I can tell if it's a proof or if it's a scotch, if it's high proof, or a bourbon, if it's sweet. I'm getting a lot of in there. Maybe that was a little too close. Or maybe that was just my really first deep sniff. (113 proof. I can smell that. And I can tell that's my first taste of whiskey today. And you can tell the proof, you can tell the rye, the high rye bourbon. Well, I'm glad I found this in Phoenix. That first taste was nice. I could feel the proof as it first went down, and then it just got yummier and tastier and creamier as it went down and on the palate. Maybe some stores have this smoke wagon in the Tampa Bay. I've not been able to find it. The couple of local kind of big box chains that we have, they don't have smoke wagon. I've not seen it at Total Wine here in Florida. Maybe some of the smaller shops have it. If you know, let me know, comment below. Have you tried smoke wagon? What do you think? This Uncut Unfiltered, it might be my jam. A high rye bourbon. I'm enjoying this. And on the plus side, I do think my wife, Mrs. Captain, is going to like this as well. She has really liked the ryes. We've been really rye forward lately in a lot of the whiskeys that we've been drinking. She doesn't really drink as much whiskey as I do, but when she does prefer a rye. And I think this Uncut Unfiltered will be to her liking. I do drink a lot of the High West. A lot of them are rye, the Rendezvous Rye, the Double Rye. Even the Midwinter Night's Dram is straight rye that's finished in a port barrel. I've had 3 bottles of the Midwinter Night's Dram, and certainly the Double Rye of all the whiskey I've ever drank is the most. I've been through more bottles of the Double Rye than any whiskey. Part of that's because I lived in Utah for a long time. Part of it was because it was one of the first whiskeys that I ever had, and I really did enjoy it. This high rye bourbon, that was pretty good. Uncut Unfiltered, get some. This is I'm just gonna call it a Bourbon Rye. 51% barely legal. Some guys kind of make fun of that, and 49% corn. Bottled in Bond, I have quite a few of those. I have 2 Rebel Empires that are bottled in Bond. That's a great proof for me. I do like the Wild Turkey Rare Breed. That's one of my favorite whiskeys these days, 116 proof and change. That's really nice. I do have a Jack Daniel's 129 proof, the bottled, the single barrel proof, which I haven't opened yet. I'm a little scared of that bottle, but one of these days I'm gonna do a quick review of it and open it. I'll probably sip it neat, and then I'll drop a couple of drops of water or a cube of ice in it after that first sip. Definitely a higher rye. A little more spice than what I was getting from the Uncut Unfiltered. I like it. A little more spice forward, a little less bite, a little less proof. I do maybe like a higher rye. I have some Whistle Pig 100% rye, and those are pretty good. I've had the 6-year and the 10-year. I also have the 18-year, which I haven't opened yet, and I have the Boss Hog, which is finished in some other barrels, but I guess I do like a high rye. And this, again, I'm gonna call this a Bourbon Rye. This Bourbon Rye bottled in Bond. Good stuff. I'm a fan, and it's taken me a couple of weeks to get these final bottles to get to 100 and smoke wagon. Not worth making a trip maybe to Arizona for it, but I'm gonna have to hunt it down here in the Tampa Bay and see where I can find it. If you know where, again, let me know. If you like this video, please like it. Comment if you have any suggestions for me. And if you want to see more of my content, subscribe to the channel. Guys, I'm excited. Thanks for joining with me today. That was good. A little bite there at the end. Guys, thanks for joining with me today. I hope you're reading something good and drinking something good. Turn those pages and stay thirsty.